Okay, here we go, everybody. Well, hello, good afternoon. This is Pastor Dave, and happy Monday, if there's such a thing as that. Because, yeah, I don't like Mondays most of the time, but I'm glad you're here with us. Uh, we're just going to have a little fun today. I'm Pastor Dave, and I'm your pastor of fun. That's not my official title at the church, but I'm working on that. But anyway, we thought we would try to update you and just put some content on Facebook to help you know what's going on in our church. Because a lot of stuff's going on right now. And so we wanted to just spend a little time with you today. So we're going to see how it goes and have some fun. But I've got some important stuff to talk about. I want to talk about the message yesterday from Pastor Chris, but I also want to talk about what's coming up right now. And so that leads us to the secret word of the day. Okay, the secret word of the day is school or school. There you see it right down there. They're right down there. School. Because school is officially back in session today in Collier County. At least I know some of the schools are, maybe all the schools, the Collier County Public Schools. And so the reason this is important for us is it is starting to become prime time for us again. During the summer, since we're a seasonal church, things kind of calm down during June and July. But with school starting back, if you've been in our services the last couple of weeks, barely enough room to get everybody in the building, right? It was, I don't know, 2 weeks ago it was like that. Yesterday, it was barely enough room to get everybody in the one service that we were doing at, what is our service at 10:30, 10:30. Because we're about to change. We're about to change soon, not next Sunday, but what we do is when we hitting the fall, go to 2 worship services because our church is growing. And that's a great problem to have, but it can be a little bit of a problem figuring out when to do that because if it looks great when our service is full, the problem is when it gets as full as it was yesterday, we start running out of places to put people. And if they come in and there's not a seat available for them, or they have to go way down front to sit, a lot of times they just say, thanks, I don't think we'll come back. And we don't ever want that to happen. So we have to kind of gauge when the right time is to go back to the second service. And we didn't know if we'd wait till maybe October or if we should do it earlier in September. But what we're seeing is we're probably going to have to do it sooner than later because we're running out of space, which is awesome because we can just start a new service. But remember, ultimately, what we want to do is we want to knock down those walls on each side and make the sanctuary bigger because it's so wonderful when we're all together. When we're all in the same service, it feels great and the energy is just incredible. And it's worship is always good at our church, but there's something special when we got everybody in the room together and when we're growing like this, we can't have that unless we knock out those walls. And remember, we're just basically waiting on the Lord for that. And when the more offerings we take in over and above what we need for the budget, the quicker that knocking out the wall is going to happen because we're not going to go in debt for it. And we're not going to, especially in a time like this right now, financially, with, don't look at your 401k right now. So in a time like that, we're not going to take a huge risk, but just waiting on the Lord what time is. So school is an important indicator for us of what the fall is going to look like. So we're thinking the fall is going to be pretty huge. But I'd like to. So that's the first thing that I just want to get across to you. Let's see. In fact, let's look at a couple things that the church is doing right now. But first off, to start this off, I want to start off with my milk dud of the day. Okay. Yeah, that was it. That was it. So, well, but the milk dud of the day is when you don't share on Facebook that you are in our service, and when you're in the service and you don't share the service on your Facebook page, that is a not good thing. Now, we're not going to get mad at you, but every time we do a service, we put this up. It says, check in and share us on Facebook now. Now, you may not think that's a big deal, but you need to understand something. The, the main way people find a new church is either through our website or through social media. Nobody, I'd say almost nobody, but I think it's even worse than that. Nobody comes to our church and visits us that doesn't first check us out on Facebook or our website, because they want to see what the church is like and they want to look at our worship service. So, what we need you to do, we really need you to start doing this, is every time you come to church. Well, same way that if you every time you come, you get a cup of coffee, whatever your routine is, you go up to your life group, you get a bulletin, whatever your routine is, add to that routine that you go on your cell phone, you pull up North Naples Baptist Church on your Facebook page, if you got Facebook, and you check in that you're at North Naples Baptist Church. You can check in, which tells everybody on your Facebook page that you're at church right now. And it tells them what church you go to. But even better than that, if you go to the North Naples page on Facebook, our service is playing there. And all you got to do is hit that little share button and it will share it on your Facebook page. When you see something on the Facebook page that you like, maybe somebody's posted something about prayer or about Bible study or whatever, and you're like, I agree with that, share it. Share it, because every time you share, it brings people back to our page. So we've got to start getting the word out about that, because this is one of the main ways we can share the gospel really, really easily nowadays. And we're not taking advantage of it. We're not using it that much. And we need to get more people on our Facebook page. We need to get more people watch it on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube right now. So when you see this come up in the service, in the pre-service, check in with us because we need you to. And so that was my milk dud of the day. Okay, but just let's see some other quick announcements. Awana is starting back up, and not this Wednesday night, but the next. I think it's the next Wednesday night. It's August 17th. August 17th. So Awana's starting back up. So get your kids in that. By the way, we had a mommy and me day last week, which was for mainly for kids that are like preschoolers. I had 25 people here just showing up just to do crafts and had a little water slide outside. We didn't make a big deal of it, but man, people showed up for it. So that's going on. We got a back to school movie night coming up. We got what we do every week at Solaris, which is so awesome. And also Wednesday nights, we're going to be offering some things coming up in a few weeks tonight, not yet. But here's the thing I want you to make sure you get: the Newcomers Class. Okay. If you've been visiting the church but you've never really become a member, and you said, well, I don't get what the big deal about membership is. Well, membership is a big deal because we want you to be connected to the church. We don't want you just to come to the church like you're, going to a movie. We want you to know people, and we want people to know you. And when you go through a struggle or a hard time, we want to be a family that's coming around you. So getting plugged into membership in the church, getting plugged into a small group, that is so very important. And so we have this newcomers class. And what's so cool is if if there's something you don't know about the church, if there's a question you got about the church, everything you would ever think of to ask is going to be answered by Pastor Chris himself in newcomers class. And I just want to say this. A lot of people who come here are astounded that they get to talk to the pastor when they come here. That the pastor's not like just some rock star that just breezes into the service and then goes out and you never see him and it's mystical and you don't know where he's at. Our pastor is so available. Pastor Chris is here all the time, and that class, that newcomers class, he he wants you to know church operates. We want you to know, what, how do we do the budget of the church and all that kind of stuff. We don't want to hide anything from anybody. We want you to know because we know as soon as you know, you'll want to be a part of things. So that newcomers class, it started this past Sunday, and we had 19 people in the dead of summer show up for our newcomers class, which is phenomenal. But if you want to be involved and didn't show up this week, you can still this next Sunday. But be sure that you don't miss out on that because it's a lot of fun, and Pastor and Paul is in there, so it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of laughs going on. But you learn what how our church operates, and everything is put right on the table for you. So I want you to not miss out on that. And if you didn't come this past week, 19 people is pretty big, but we've got room for everybody. So make sure that you get to Newcomers Class this week. Let's see. Let's see. The next thing. Don't go. Okay, I did the milk dud. I did the Newcomers Class. I want to pick off. Okay. So now I want to talk about Pastor Chris's message, and this is a part of the program I call Dave's Milkshake, where we kind of just shake it all together and find out what's going on. So here we go. Okay, this Sunday's message was a huge message for a lot of people. We got a lot of good feedback on it. A lot of people really, all the messages are good. All the messages are biblical that we do here. But this one seemed to hit home with a lot of folks. And it was based on one of the Beatitudes from Matthew chapter 4. You probably heard those all your life. But this was based on the Beatitude. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Okay. And for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And Pastor made a lot of really good points, but one of the first things that he said that I've written right down here underneath the title was he said this. He said, "We are all people," and the idea behind that is sometimes when people come to church, they try to just to be honest, they try to put on airs. I mean, it's like for me, if I'm on an airplane and when people ask me what I do and I say, well, I'm a pastor, everything changes. Their expression changes. They start talking, and really, they don't start using these and thous when they talk, and they start telling me a laundry list of all the good things that they've ever done anytime they ever gave money to the poor or whatever. And because they're trying to look good. And unfortunately, a lot of church for some people becomes trying to look like you got it all together, and I'm coming to church. Some people come to church to look like good people. And the problem is, church is not meant for good people. Church is meant for people who know that they're not good and they need God's help. You see, blessed are the poor in spirit. Poor in spirit is a roundabout way that Jesus was saying, blessed are the humble, the spiritually humble. In other words, you're blessed when you know that you have absolutely nothing to offer God. You come to God uh, as a servant, as a slave, and you really have nothing of value to give God. You see that humility. If you come to God, you got to come on your knees. You can't come strutting into his presence. You can't come thinking you have something great to offer him. The right way to approach God is on your knees. This was the point of Pastor Chris's message yesterday, and he made so many great points, but basically saying we got to stop pretending that everything's all right. We are all broken people. You know, uh, we don't put on Facebook when our kid gets an F on his report card. We don't broadcast that. Um, when we lose our job, we probably don't put that on Facebook. We don't trumpet that to a lot of people. We don't, we just kind of brag about the good stuff. But on the inside, all of us are broken, and that was what the sermon was about yesterday. And one of the things that he mentioned that I think I just want to point out real quick is this verse in James chapter 5, James 5:16. Pastor quoted this verse: confess your sins to each other and pray for each other that you may be healed. And he made this point. It was such a great point. He said, um, you want to experience the power of God? Well, you can go out to nature to experience the power of God and see the power of God in the waves on the beach. You can just, it's a good picture of the power of God, and you can experience a lot of things about God in different ways. But he said, if you want to experience the healing of God, you have with other people. Um, and that's called church. And I just want to piggyback on this, and because there are people who think that well, I'm a Christian, but I just don't go to church. I don't like church. I love Jesus, but I don't like the church. I just want you to know that's impossible, uh, because the Bible gives you an option about that. If you're going to find the fullness of following Christ, you're going to do that in church. I mean, it's so important that even folks that are physically unable to come to church, like people in the Solaris nursing home, we visit them every couple of weeks because we know they need church. You say, well, why can't they just watch it on TV, or they can pull it up on your service up on the internet? Because that's not church. That's watching a service. Church is when we are relating to each other, when we are communicating one another with another human being, and there's give and take, and where you know my life and I know your life, and it's kind of a dumb way to put it, but people say we do church, we do life together. I don't like that phrase because it's kind of corny now, but basically that we have to do life together. Um, the Christian pastor said, even the Lone Ranger had Tonto. There are no Lone Ranger Christians, and well, I can get lots of great Bible teaching online. Yeah, you can, but church is not about Bible teaching. Church is not just a place where we give just information. If you just want more information about the Bible, get a Bible concordance. That's not what church was supposed to be. It's not for you just to know more about God, but it's for you to experience God and his love in a community of people. And that only happens at church. I know some people don't like that, and they think that I just say it because I'm a pastor, but you follow God successfully outside of his church. And the truth is, I know a lot of people who like baseball. I think baseball is just like one notch up from watching golf. And that is like one notch up from watching grass grow. Um, it's, nah, it's boring to me. But some people love it. Some people love baseball. And know what I've noticed about baseball? Every chance that they get, if they really love baseball, guess what they do? They go to a baseball game. Now, if it's far, far away, they'll watch it on TV because they just can't, they can't get to St. Louis to see the Cardinals, or they can't get, to another city to see another team. But if there's a baseball game in town, they're there. And I tried to go to a baseball game, and it was the organ music was the high point of it for me. Ding, 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 ding. I was bored out of my mind. But if you love baseball, you will go to a baseball game. I got friends who love theater, and they love live theater, and every time they can, they got a ticket to see a show, and they're in the theater because live theater is about when it happens and the immediacy of it, and it's exciting. If you like theater, you go to the theater. And so I found also that people that love God, that really love God, they go to church, and they don't go once every 3 months. They don't go just when there's something special, and they don't go just when it's Easter or Christmas. No, we're happy if you come, and we'll be nice to you. We won't embarrass you, but that's not loving God, and that's not following him as a Christian. If you're following Jesus and you're in love with him, you're going to come to church. Maybe not my church, but you're going to find a church out there. It's funny. I've gotten bad service in restaurants before, but I never stopped eating, obviously. I found somewhere else to go to a restaurant. So if you've had a bad experience in a church, it doesn't mean you stop going to church. It means you find a church where they're doing it right, or where the problem you experienced is not there. But you got to go to church. You got to go to church, because that community and that healing that Pastor talked about in James chapter 5, that happens. What are the words that are in that sentence twice? Each other, each other. That healing only comes when other Christians are around. And that's what church will do. The right church will bring healing into your life. And now you may not like everything about it. You may not like everything in the church, but you know what? It's not everything that happens in church is not all about you. It's not all about me. It's not all about whatever song I want to sing or whatever sermon I need. If Pastor Chris preaches a sermon that doesn't relate to me, you know what I know? It's for somebody else. And that met somebody else's need that Sunday. And so I can rejoice in that. But church is how God heals our brokenness. And so we got to keep it. We got to keep it a priority in our lives. Not every other week, not every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Every week, every week. Not legalistically. And there's times when we're out of town or we're sick or whatever. But it's got to be a habit. It's got to be, it's got to be habitual in your life. Or if you don't, you get out of the habit and your spiritual life starts drifting. Have you ever been on the beach before, when you've been out in the water and your family's over there on the shore, and you're goofing around in the water, and then you turn around and your family is way up the beach? You say, well, why did they move? Well, they didn't move. You drifted. And when you get out of church and you stop focusing on the things of God, you start drifting. And the only way that you can just even stay in the same place spiritually is like when you're to stay in the same place on that beach, I would have to push against the tide with my body. I'd have to push against the waves that are pushing me down the beach just to stay in the same place, not even to go forward. It's the same way spiritually. If you want to go forward spiritually, You could be pushing against the tide. You've got to prioritize your spiritual life, prayer, Bible study, but church, being together with the family of God every Sunday. That's what you need. And so I'm encouraging you to do that. There's a great sermon this week. Pastor's going to be doing the Beatitudes the next few weeks. So, looking forward to that. But just know the Beatitudes are like stepping stones. They're like a little ladder. They're like going up a set of stairs. You can't make it up until you take the first step, which is blessed are the poor in spirit. You start off with humility, and everything builds on top of the humility. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's all I got for today. It's good to talk to you. I hope you'll share this. Remember that was a big deal to, where's the thing here? Where is it? I'm wasting time. Yeah. So share this and like it on Facebook and share it on your Facebook page, like you should do every service, every time you come here. The more you do that, the more you get the word out for us. Okay. Thanks so much. I appreciate you being with us, and we'll see you soon. Okay. God bless. Bye bye.